Hello, 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 and welcome back to the 2001 Grade 8 level Gauss paper. So that's the multiple choice contest aimed at the Grade 8 level. And we're up to question number 4, which says the following. When a number is divided by 7, the quotient is 12 and the remainder is 5. The number is... Okay. So we're going to need to sort of reverse this result. So when we say we're divided by 7, we get a quotient of 12 and the remainder of 5. The first thing that jumps into my mind is the actual setup for long division. This might not be the first thing that jumps into your mind. Oops. That's the first thing that pops into my mind. So the number we want is in here. We'll give it question marks. We divide by 7, and we get out a 12 here, and we have a remainder of 5. And of course, if we were doing actual long division, there'd be a whole bunch of calculations in here, but that doesn't really matter. So, 7, when we divide our mystery number by 7, we get 12 and a remainder of 5. And we have to think, well, what do these things actually mean? What does a remainder of 5 mean? What does the quotient of 12 actually mean? Okay. So the quotient is basically the closest integer we can get to when we divide by 7. And the remainder is how far off of that number we are. So, if you're dividing by 7 and your quotient is 12, we'll just do a bit of long division theory here for a moment. So your quotient goes on top, and your remainder sort of gets stuck over to the side. I was always taught to put a capital R with it to denote the remainder. And you have the divisor, and this friendly number on the bottom, I believe, is called the dividend. Somebody in the comments might be screaming at me that I do have this incorrect. I will remind you, it's been a while since I've done grade 4, which is when we learned this stuff. But basically, the divisor and the quotient, when we multiply them together, we get as close to the dividend without going over and the remainder is what's left over. The divisor and quotient gets close to the dividend, but it's not quite close enough, and the remainder makes up the difference. So the actual way that you rearrange this question is to say, well, the dividend, and that's the crazy question mark number that we want, is the divisor multiplied by the quotient, and we add on the remainder. The remainder makes up the difference. Okay? So that tells me that my unknown question mark number is 7, which is the divisor, times the quotient, which is 12, plus the remainder, which is 5. And the remainder should always be less than the divisor. And so it is. 5 is less than 7, so we're all set. So 7 times 12, well, that's 84 plus 5. We get a final answer of 89. I'm just going to double check that on the calculator. Yep. So let's see, is that one of the possible answers here? And all the way at the end, it's answer number E. Okay. So we circle in E. As long as we understand the relationship between the divisor, the quotient, the remainder, and the dividend. And that's what we're talking about here. You can feel free to try and pause the video and read again what I wrote. And if you're still a little confused, by all means, brush up on your long division and what all these terms mean. Because if it's been a while since you learned this stuff, or if you never learned this stuff, then the idea of the long division method is just, oh, you put a bunch of numbers together and you get these numbers out and you got the right marks, or it somehow solved the solution. But there's real relationships going on here, and there's real sort of math theory that if you understand it, you might better understand long division. But we're doing a math contest. We're not doing a math lesson. So we circle our answer or bubble it in, and we move on triumphantly to question number 5, which we're going to cover in the next video. So I'll see you guys then.